Let's jump on our proverbial trampolines and get going.
Jump.
Scooch.
Jump.
But keep your hands on the safety bar. You don't want your feet to go too high. Welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. Hey, my name is Will, and joining me as always are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and John. Hello, guys.
Guys.
Hey, great to see you.
Likewise. And if you want to see more of John, be sure and check out his podcast, Gen X Grown Up. I guess you'd hear him there. But you could see him on his YouTube channel, which is called the Gen X Grown Up as well. Hey, but before we do anything else, we're going to review Curtain. Not before we do anything. This is what we're going to do. Before we turn the mics off. Before we turn the mics off.
It will contain.
We're going to review current news stories related to 1980s media, including Danny DeVito would like to toss another parent from public transit. Axel F. has got a score to settle again. It's the end of the world and Wham know it? I don't know. Thou Shall Not Fear, the 1980s horror movie that's becoming a musical. Now you got to be a real fan of that movie to get that reference. No?
Mm-hmm, you would, yes.
And so I didn't.
Therapy makes me feel good. One of the Ghostbusters needs a friend. And the 1989 song that is endangering an entire genre of music. Probably not really. Anyway, there's time codes in the show notes if you'd like to skip around. Hey, I think next week we should go live.
Oh, okay.
A quick announcement. Hey, join us as we record our next episode live. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. And it requires twice the effort to do that. But you're never going to be able to tell. If you switched back and forth, you wouldn't be able to tell that we're doing it twice, period. End of sentence. But
it's convincing. Yeah.
We're going to do that on Tuesday, December 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Unless Kat has anything better to do, we will do it then.
Duran in town. Anything special going on?
Yes. And
Stay tuned.
And we're going to be talking about, look, it's the end of the year. We're wrapping up, We're getting to the end of the year, right? I can't wait for I'm really looking for the holidays. Oh, John. Hey, John.
It's the end of the year. I'm winding down.
Oh, okay. So we're going to make it nice and easy, right? We'll do our news that you may skip past, or maybe that's all you listen to. And then we'll just share some Christmas traditions or whatever, whatever holidays you guys celebrate. I don't know. I'm not going to assume. And New Year's Eve, whatever, stuff like that. And we're doing it live because we want to hear from you too in the chat, so we can share what you do as well. And I do have specific traditions from my family. Growing up, I would say fortunate enough to have very specific things we would eat and things we would do. In particular, when I was younger, you kind of grow out of sort of hanging out with your family when you get older. You more with your friends or your partners, that sort of thing. But anyway, and I'd love to hear what you did during those times as well.
Okay.
Cool.
Are you sure? You'd really love to hear it?
I don't know what you're suggesting.
That
I don't.
I was thinking of you not being kind, and then you said that you would love to hear our traditions. And I was thinking, does he really want to hear?
Cut out.
Oh.
Because it was confusing.
I always forget that.
And now cut out this part too. And now this part.
Or I got to leave it all in.
Here we go.
And now people will think it's on the 20th. Oh, for crying out loud. December 19th. 7 p.m. Eastern, Facebook, YouTube, join us live. Thank you. All right, hey, let's get caught up on 1980s news. All right, hey, this week in 1980s news, as he told a GQ magazine, Danny DeVito is developing a sequel to Throw Mama from the Train. Huh. Yeah. In other 1980s news, Axel is back.
Oh.
All right, you want to hear about that? All right, I'll go back.
Jump right over Danny?
I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
Ever.
All right, I'll tell you.
Jump.
I'll jump.
I can see it in his eyes. He's like, Well, that part wasn't going to be in the show either.
Well,
but
I guess
now
that's the cold opening now. All right. Sometimes it's just how it works.
I saw in your face just kind of flush. You're like, got to include that part.
I adore Cat. I love Cat. You and I have different experience in Cat when it comes to performing. That we keep track of all these things. Cat is on the show because she's Cat, and so you still be Cat. You just be Cat.
And I keep track of nothing.
Where's your little notebook? Flip it open. There. Bullet point 1, DeVito's trampoline, not to talk about. Bullet point 2.
You can talk about anything you want, Kat. Talk about anything you want. Seriously.
No, I need to make a list of what not to talk about.
No, I don't want you doing administrative work during the show. Just be present. That's good. That you're being present by saying these things. That's great. So look, I'll tell you what's going on with this, and you can tell me if you care. I love Danny DeVito, by the way. I mean,
I love him.
Pretty much he can do anything. So that said, I don't know that I'm all that interested in seeing the sequel, but this is what's happening. So DeVito is currently, by the way, as a side note, he stars in the longest running live action television comedy series of all time. Mm-hmm. Right now.
Oh yeah.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny, yeah.
But DeVito, instead of returning to television, at least at this very moment, he is returning to Broadway in the Roundabout Theater's production of I Need That, which is running through the end of the month. Shortly before opening night, the play opened on November 2nd, GQ spoke with DeVito in his dressing room. When asked if there's anything he wants to revisit in his career, DeVito said, Billy Crystal and I want to work together again. We were looking at possibly doing Throw Papa from the Train. Did you guys care for did you see Throw Mama from the Train?
I'm not sure that I did.
It was like, it felt like it was that era when I just saw everything.
Yeah.
Because I was always going to the movies.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's 8 things to see and I've seen the other 7. Yeah. It's not like I was dying to see Throw Mama from the Train, but it was DeVito and it was a comedy and it was at the theater. And I'm sure I saw it at the theater. And I didn't think much of it. And then I watched the trailer for it today and I'm like, well, now I've got to go watch it because the trailer is basically one scene. Okay. And they did have some chemistry, the two of them. So, I mean, it made me, 20% more likely to see the sequel now that I've seen the trailer for the first one. Because I
want to see it too. I want to, if I ever did see it, I want to rewatch it. I probably never saw it.
You remind me, I think, and look, I saw it in a theater like you said, and then I rented it when it came out. So that was that era where there was just a cycle. You just cycled through everything like that. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason I didn't care for it is my expectations. So, Billy Crystal, I loved at the time, who was hilarious, was in a lot of, comedies leading up to that. Loved his stand-up work. Danny DeVito, of course, a big fan at the time. I think the film was, out of its time or ahead of its time. I think the film was ahead of its time in a sense because I was used to seeing some dark movies, dark comedies, even, like Terry Gilliam's films, that sort of thing, absurdist movies. But I wasn't expecting that from these two guys. And that's kind of what we got is a dark comedy because it's about them murdering each other's, significant people in their lives. And I didn't know what to make of that. And I think that's why it wasn't a laugh out loud, funny type of movie. It was kind of a cringy, but I do think I might appreciate that more today.
You probably laugh out loud uproariously.
It's kind of a like a extra funny Fargo, right? It's like about genuine crime taking place, but it's a little tongue in cheek, right?
Yes.
It's not like they are planning actual murder. It's not like, wouldn't it be funny if, you're right.
You're right. And Fargo in the sense that the criminals are, buffoons. And often sort of mess up the crime. I think it probably would play better today. But not only did DeVito star in the 1987 comedy alongside Crystal and Anne Ramsey, but he also directed the film, which I had forgotten.
Oh, okay.
And Ramsey, who you'll also remember from The Goonies, she was the head of the Fratelli crime family, was nominated for Academy and Golden Globe Awards for her performance. And I'm not surprised about that. Why are you pointing to yourself?
I remember her from The Goonies. John does not.
I don't.
Yes. The perennial.
Yes.
Interestingly, I just learned about this. Irving Gordon, a composer who wrote the hit 1950 song Mama from the Train, brought a lawsuit against Orion for using his song's title.
What?
His mama is...
Please explain.
What?
Yeah, so the movie's coming out, and this guy had this hit song in the 1950s, so 30 years earlier. His song is Mama, M-A-M-A, from the train. It's not about tossing a parent from a moving vehicle. It's not about that.
His mama was born and raised on the train? Oh, my mama's from the train.
Or is it a hobo lover? Like my mama from the train.
my hobo lover.
That is one hot hobo mama from the train.
Yes. It was an alternate title. Alternate titles you're suggesting. No, so he learns this film's going to come out, it seems, with the same name or similar name. Throw Mama from the Train. And at the time, the film was called Throw Mama, M-A-M-A. So even though they're not, they're different media, slightly different names, he threatens a law. He files a lawsuit against Orion, the filmmakers. Before it ever gets to trial, they settle out of court. It was reported that Orion paid him some undisclosed amount, although some folks believe it was as much as $100,000. And ultimately, the film changed its title, or the spelling of its title, to M-O-M-M-A.
Gotcha.
Right.
Although it's not documented anywhere that I could find that the name was changed as part of this settlement with Gordon.
People file a lawsuit over anything, won't they?
Yeah, because you can. I mean, you really can. Right? And just see what happens. Additionally, during his interview with GQ, DeVito reiterated the defunct status of the sequel to 1988's Twins, saying, "We missed Twins 2 because Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor, which he should have done Twins 2 instead."
Yeah, I love that.
Now, regarding that sequel, which was to be called Triplets, you'll recall that, and we talked about this earlier this year, that Schwarzenegger told the Hollywood Reporter in May that, quote, Jason Reitman fucked it up.
Right.
Goodness.
That's right. I remember that now. Yeah.
He goes on to explain that everybody was excited about it, including Jason's father, Ivan Reitman, who directed the original film, as well as Ghostbusters and Stripes and a number of other wonderful, iconic comedies. But when he passed away, Jason said, I never really cared for this idea and just killed it.
That's a sequel I would much prefer to see over Throw Papa from the Train.
Well, look, I don't know if this will ever get anywhere, but what is it about? He wants to, first of all, these guys' parents have died of natural causes at this point.
Yes.
I think both of these gentlemen are in their 80s or near, or approaching it rapidly.
I've got it. Put me in the writer's room.
Writer's room.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
This is a redemption story.
Yes.
He's going to take his father's ashes, who he wanted to be thrown from a train at some location. So it's a redemption story of them doing a good thing for their family after attempting to matricide earlier.
Okay, your idea is different.
And wasn't it? What was it? It was DeVito's mom, but it was Crystal's wife
Ex-wife.
or something.
Yeah,
Ex-wife.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe one of them is the papa being thrown from the
That's
train.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Like one's going to throw the other off a train, or
No, like
or their kids are trying to throw them off the train.
Yes.
Yes.
Boo.
So
Don't make that
one of
movie.
them trying to thwart the murder.
the urge to murder is carried through generationally.
Yes. Serial killers.
I learned it from watching you.
Right. All aboard. Hey, and speaking of iconic and 1980s comedies, Eddie Murphy is back in Beverly Hills. We've got our first trailer for Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., the latest installment in Murphy's beloved classic action comedy franchise. The actor-comedian, now 62, returns as Detective Axel Foley in the upcoming sequel. Have you guys watched the trailer?
Yes.
Yes, indeed. A couple times.
What do you think? Hopeful? No, not going to watch it.
Looked like a trailer for a movie that wasn't ready to make a trailer.
Okay.
They had one scene of a car race with Murphy driving a truck, and they used that a lot. He's driving a truck and knocking a door off a police car. He's driving a truck and punching a guy in the face. He's driving a truck. It's like they had that scene shot.
Right.
But the best part of the trailer was easily in the last 10 seconds. Where you see the characters inside the car digging on each other.
Yeah.
How many people you pissed off? Oh, I pissed anybody off like 50-50. Is that high? It's that banter. I rewound that and watched it like 10 times. The rest of the trailer I watched twice. Yeah.
I agree. And what I thought was cool about that, well, a couple things. I think one thing, you're burying the lead here, right? Because in that scene, we've got the return of John Ashton and Judge Reinhold as their characters from the original first two films.
Yeah, and we knew they were coming back, though, didn't we? We had news on that some time ago. Yeah, it was.
I feel like we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, there were set photos, and then it was announced that they would be back.
Yes.
Oh, and when I saw that scene that you mentioned, John, it reminded me that we also talked about how some of the dialogue in the original film between the two cops, the two Beverly Hills cops, was a result of some improvisation that Judge Reinhold and John Ashton did during their auditions. And that scene felt very loose and kind of just,
didn't it?
Just like old friends teasing each other.
It did. That's probably why I wanted to watch it over and over.
Yeah. And it turns out, director Mark Malloy said that, quote, some of the funniest moments in the film are when Eddie's improvising. For me, a big part of my job was to create the right environment, cast the right people around Eddie to allow him what he does best, end quote.
Yeah.
That said, I hope they have a good script, too.
Right. Not just a bunch of funny ad-libbing.
There are films that are made in that way, and they rarely ever are good.
I'm wondering if this movie is why Judge Reinhold wasn't considered for the voice of Garfield.
I'm sorry, I'm busy. Yeah.
He was too busy.
Could be, yeah.
With this movie.
In the upcoming sequel, we're told that after Axel Foley's daughter's life is threatened, she, played by Taylor Page, and Foley team up with a new partner, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Axel also reteams with his pals Billy Rosewood and John Taggart, played by the two actors we mentioned earlier, to turn up the heat and uncover a conspiracy.
Ooh.
The original 1984 film was, of course, a box office smash that shot Murphy to international stardom. He had films right around this, in this pocket of the mid to early 1980s and beyond that just launched him from a really solid, wonderful player on Saturday Night Live, which was, I think he was surrounded by folks that were probably not as talented as he, but international stardom after these films.
Yeah. I remember seeing excerpts of him on the Johnny Carson show, like around this time.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was still getting used to it. The fame.
Oh.
Beverly Hills Cop had just come out, and I think, was there another cop
48 hours.
48 hours. Thank you. 48 hours.
That,
also had just happened.
Yeah.
And, and he was talking about and I got all these other movies set up and I got to go do this. And everybody wants my time. And he wasn't used to being a superstar yet. I mean, even though he had already had a level of notoriety and fame, he had not yet ka-chunk taken that next big leap. And watching that, you saw him right on that edge. And it was awesome to see because was he 20, 21 or something? He was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Did he talk about best defense?
I don't think it came up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We could do a whole episode, and we should, on that film. It's so bizarre, and they brought him in to try to save it. And
that's one of those where they probably just let Murphy ad lib, and it didn't save the day, right? Because they didn't have a good script to start with. Yeah,
but they offered him so much money, he agreed. To
okay.
Do it. Yeah. Last month, Murphy told people that continuing Foley's story 4 decades after the character made his big screen debut was rough at times, saying, "quote It was a hard one. I did Axel Foley when I was in my 20s." Oh, there you go, John. I'm not in my 20s anymore. It was an action movie, so it was a rough one, but we got through it, end quote.
Oh my gosh.
Bless his heart.
Now, also, I think encouraging, it's certainly fan servicey, but it doesn't mean it'll be bad necessarily. But we also see Paul Reiser in the trailer, who was in the original films, and Bronson Pinchot. Their appearances raised some questions. It seems like Paul Reiser is now the chief inspector, replacing Gil Hill, who created I think Gil Hill in the original film created that trope of the angry police chief, because he's just screaming at Axel all the time. I think he was I think it was born out of his portrayal of the character. And then Bronson Pinchot happens to be driving by in a car. His search character, I don't know. That one makes me nervous a little bit.
Yeah. Did I see Kevin Bacon in there too?
You did.
I thought so.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon joins the cast, and it seems like he's also playing a police officer, although you get the vibe that he's probably the bad guy, right?
He seems like he's not putting up with Axel's
he looks very bacony.
Style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of oily and just fried.
Kind of wiggly.
Well, more in the way that he can have that. Yes, he was oily probably, but the way that Kevin Bacon can have that like simmering evil underneath his kind of boyish good looks, he does a good job of that. Yeah,
simmering.
Yeah, the way you simmer bacon.
Yes.
So the film's going to come out next summer, which will be the 40th anniversary of the film. Can Axel still be a detective, over 30 years, 40 years later? Is that a thing?
He's consulting.
He retired by now? Oh, okay, consulting.
That's how they always solve it.
You'd think he would have retired.
Yeah. Am I the only one concerned that this is direct to Netflix, though?
Oh, I was so curious about that. Is it not going to be in a movie theater?
No.
Or is that not a big deal anymore? Maybe going straight to streaming doesn't have the stigma that it used to any longer.
I don't think it does, but still, I would think that Eddie Murphy would be on the big screen. I'm really surprised that it's not going to be in a theater.
His Coming to America also was straight on Netflix, right?
Really?
Yeah, or Paramount, one of those, yes.
Yeah. He must have got like a 4 or 5 picture deal because he did a couple films before that even when he did his comeback. Yeah, maybe that's the case. But it doesn't have that stigma. Like, remember, go to see a Disney movie. All right. Let's go see a Disney movie, direct to video. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with it? Couldn't get the actors back to do the cartoon voice. There's always something in a direct to video. And I think for a while, direct to streaming meant that, but I don't think it does anymore.
Yeah, I think it changed during the pandemic, right? I mean, there was a period.
For sure.
There was sort of a period where it was still like that, but I think by the end we came out of that. We had some of those HBO shows or those Max shows, whatever it was called at the time, drop simultaneously or only on them. And so I think we're past that. And I can't think of an example, but I feel like I've seen even recently a Netflix show. Certainly Apple movies. There are streamers out there that put stuff it's the level and quality of something you see in the theater. I feel a little bad because if it's really good, you might be deprived of seeing, him in a truck over and over again on the big screen.
There's probably other scenes, I'm hoping.
But it's great to see those action scenes play out on a larger than life.
Don't you think it's a combination? I think they met in the middle. I think the reputation of streamers came up and the reputation of cinema came down. And they've somehow met in the middle to where kind of doesn't matter where they go now.
With regard to, we've got reviews for the trailer even. Just the trailer, there's reviews. People magazine says thrilling.
Oh, thrilling trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, so much truck. A++ says Freightliner Corporation.
These are real. These are real. I lifted these from real headlines.
Okay. You're going.
IGN, action-packed.
A truck a minute.
Detroit Free Press gives nod to Detroit.
That's true. It's on his jacket.
They also gave it an A+ for accurately portraying Detroit weather in a scene that's supposed to be at a Michigan airport.
Wait, what?
It's so Detroit specific, their review. The Detroit Free Press.
They couldn't think of anything to say about the trucks.
They just ignored the trucks.
It's all from the lens of this character's from Detroit, Anyway, all right. Hey, also this week in 1980 news, as reported by Vulture. So the Bible foretells that 4 horsemen will herald the apocalypse. Oh, I didn't tell you guys I'm changing the format of the show. I forgot to tell you. Those were the 2 last 1980s pop culture stories.
Okay, right. And now we're talking end of the world.
Now we're doing biblical analysis.
Well, wham, you've surprised me.
We'll add another, nice, John. We'll add another writer to death, war, famine, and pestilence, George Michael.
I did not see this coming.
Wait. What animal would he ride?
Huh.
Oh.
Give it some thought. You get 1 vote. What's it going to be?
Okay.
George Michael?
The first thing that comes to mind, and it's still a horse, but I think it's all white with a really long flowy mane.
Okay. All right.
A Pegasus.
Mythical? You going mythical?
You guys are super horsey. Yeah. I was thinking like I was thinking like a white tiger. Like, I think that's what George Michael would ride in on.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Loud tiger.
So this year, to save themselves from tears, thousands are trying to avoid Wham's perennial hit, Last Christmas. It's a game called Whamageddon that I've never heard of this before till this year.
Really?
You're not going to play the sample, right? You're not going to do that to us. You're notorious for playing samples.
I wanted to talk to you about that, about the morality of it. We could talk about that.
Okay, go ahead. I just don't catch us by surprise here. Because so far, I'm clean so far. I'm just saying.
Okay. I'm clean. Kat, have you ever heard of this game?
I heard of this possibly last year for the first time.
Okay.
Maybe before that.
Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious.
A couple of years ago, I heard of it.
Heard of it last year.
Okay. Yeah. And the first year I heard of it, I was out like that. Yeah. And then the second year I did okay. And then it was played on the radio. And so far I'm clean this year. Okay. Anyway, continue.
So for folks who don't know what we're talking about, it's a game called Whamageddon. Apparently it's been happening for 18 years since a Danish man named Thomas Mertz and friends started noticing the song everywhere, presumably around this time of year. According to Mertz's Whamageddon website, which had over 500,000 visitors last year, the rules are as follows. 1, the objective is to go as long as possible without hearing Wham's Christmas classic Last Christmas. 2, the game starts on December 1st and finishes at the end of December 24th. That's very considerate. So you can listen to it on Christmas, you're fine. And obviously after that, your interest wanes. Rule number 3, only the original version applies.
Covers are fine.
And this is reading from their website. Enjoy the shit out of remixes and covers.
Right. So if Will would like to acapella for us right now, that's cool. Just don't be playing a sample of the original. That's all.
And the 4th rule is you're out as soon as you recognize the song. So even if I were to play just like a 0.2 of a second, if you recognize it, you'd be out.
That's right. And if we didn't know, we're safe.
Knowing you guys, you'd be fine. You'd be fine.
Oh,
even considering this whole segment, you'd still wouldn't get it. All right, whatever. With regard to a PvP, player versus player, they say, while we can't stop you from deliberately sending your friends to Whamhalla, the intention is that it's a survival game, so not a battle royale, so don't be a dick.
We can all win. No one must lose for you to win. That's the point.
Right.
It reminds me of what Chris Butler used to do with regard to the Waitress's Christmas song, which of course is, among my favorite Christmas songs of all time.
Your favorite, yeah.
Christmas Rappin'. He would, if you were the first person to contact him when you heard it out in the wild, so not at home, or not by choice, he would send you $50, I think it was what it was.
Oh, man.
So you were the first one to message him.
Sweet.
I just heard this at the grocery store or whatever. He'd send you $50. I don't think he does that anymore. But
you don't think he does that anymore?
Yeah. And the guy, regarding the gentleman who started this game, it turns out he has no personal vendetta against the song. He said, quote, "It's just a funny little thing that a couple of idiots from Denmark did to entertain themselves during Christmas." End quote.
Well,
it's going to be hard to avoid, though, guys, because Last Christmas is currently number 1 on the UK singles chart and number 5 on the Hot 100 in the US.
That's okay. I don't listen to radio that adheres to any of these charts. So,
All right, but you're doing Christmas shopping at a Target or a Walmart.
That's how I'm going to get hit. That is going to be that I'm out. It's on Muzak or something. Yeah, that's the risk. It's not going to be in my car.
There's no prize or anything, right? But it's funny how competitive we can be about these things.
Well, it's
stuff.
I know people who play this fervently, and I see them confess on Facebook because there's a big honesty policy.
It's self-reporting.
behind
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And even one of our loyal listeners, Craig, last week or the week before, he's like, "Man, I got whammed today." He was.
No kidding. Okay, that's funny.
Yes, I have to confess though. I kind of love being whammed because I love this song. It doesn't bother me.
That is such a sound drop now, John.
I know.
Oh, no.
We're just going to have it as a separate podcast. Cat's Confessions. I kind of love being whammed. Tune in next week to hear more of Cat's Confessions.
Oh, next week she'll be boing boinged.
Yes.
I think you're allowed to like the song. And also playing this game.
Yeah, sure.
True. That is true.
I would think of it like I'm agnostic about the song. It's fine. I don't need it. If it disappeared, I wouldn't cry, but it's okay. The point is, if you like it, waiting to hear it on Christmas, well, then it's another gift to open for you, Kat. Wait for it for Christmas Day.
Anticipating things or waiting is definitely a kind of a virtue. Yeah.
Well, John asked me whether or not I was going to play the clip because that would anybody who heard the show, especially in the John's reaching for his earbud to pull it out.
I have my fingers on my earbud.
I'm not playing it. My hands are out.
Okay. All right.
I'm not playing the game. I just want to hear the song.
Regarding the thing being spoiled, earlier this month, a DJ dropped the song during a Northampton Town soccer match in England, saying, quote, he thought it would be, quote, quite funny to wipe out 7,000 people. End quote. Instead, he was met with attacks and disappointments from those that were there.
Furious.
They were the fervent players.
Ultimately leading to Matt Facer, the DJ, to officially apologize to everyone whose, quote, Christmas I've ruined, end quote. Really? Ruined it?
My gosh.
People took to social media to let him know how they felt. Although he says probably worse things were said during his appearance there at the stadium. And another unidentified DJ clearly didn't learn from Facer's Miss Faux Pas here, because this DJ at a bigger soccer game on December 10th sent 60,000 attendees to Whamhalla when he played the verboten song during a match between Arsenal women and Chelsea women.
So, Will, if you play a clip, you could get more than that.
Yes,
no
I
doubt.
could, Kat. I could.
John's
now,
ready.
John, if I play the song or a piece of it, which I'm not going to do, because I don't want people to turn the show off or hate the show, you would be out. But I can play a remix of it. So I'm going to play my favorite remix of it.
It's somehow worse.
Wait, it gets even better.
Here comes the drop.
Anyway, there you go. All right, so
I think I'm more likely to avoid that.
Well, but you get a little taste, so you don't have to lose.
That's true.
All right, as reported by Variety in our latest segment of...
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The Lost Boys is being made into a musical. Man, we've learned about a lot of our properties being turned into musicals, right? I mean, The Outsiders just talked about that.
Yes.
We reminded folks that The Karate Kid is coming to Broadway as a musical.
Yes.
Ulysses' catalog from the 1980s is being turned into a musical.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So far, all those, I guess I shouldn't judge, because ultimately I think those were, I don't know about The Outsiders. All right, whatever. Here we go. Anyway, the show, the Lost Boys show will feature music from the Rescues, a band that with which I'm not familiar, and will be directed by Michael Arden. David Hornsby, who is an actor, writer, and producer on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Mythic Quest, and Chris Hoke or Hutch will handle the book. That's probably the most surprising thing to me. David Hornsby, I'm a fan of his. He's great on the show, and he's a great behind-the-scenes guy on the It's Always Sunny. That gives me some hope about. And the book, for folks who don't know, that's what's spoken in the musical. It's also usually includes the lyrics in the musical. He's a clever guy and a funny guy. Maybe he's involved to keep it somewhat lighthearted and tongue-in-cheek and not take itself too seriously. I don't know. And Tony Award nominee Ethan Popp, who worked on the Tina Turner musical, speak about, again, folks from the 1980s musicals.
Right on.
Will serve as a music supervisor for the production. The Rescues, I had to look it up. They're an American rock band from LA who formed just in 2008. And their music is classified as indie pop rock. I listened to some of their songs, and I don't know, for me, I would have buzzed them because they're kind of very downbeat, all of them.
Well, that, I guess, kind of fits with the theme of the movie. Yeah.
I feel like that's only just one element, Like, even we had that, I was alluding to Cry Little Sister when I talked about Thou Shalt Not Fear. That song is kind of a certain mood and vibe that's kind of like that, but there's some other element to it. It seems like something's lurking, some sort of darkness lurking, something's coming. I don't know. Listening to their music just made me feel down.
Well, I was going to give them a listen, and I ran out of time.
Time in your life? You could listen to them later. Are you telling us something?
No. She's not like out of time with a capital O out of time. No, she's just leading up to this recording out of time. So many things she'd hoped to do with her life, but she had to record this show.
Including listening to the Rescues, apparently. Regarding the source material, the original 1987 film of The Lost Boys was based on a story by James Jeremias and Janice Roberta Fisher. And of course, it was directed by Joel Schumacher and produced by Richard Donner. It follows two teenage brothers who move with their divorced mother to the fictional town of Santa Carla, California, only to discover that what does he say at the end? One thing I always hated about Santa Carla. Too many goddamn vampires.
Oh,
something like that. The film, by the way, was originally set to be directed by Donner. And Fisher and Jeremias' screenplay was modeled on Donner's then recent hit, The Goonies, And it was envisioned more of a juvenile vampire adventure with the leads being 13 and 14 years old. With the Frog Brothers being 8-year-old Cub Scouts. So everybody got sort of, scooched down on the age range there. But when Donner was committed to other projects and left it, and Schumacher came in. It was his idea to make it sexier and more adult and darker and edgier. And he brought on screenwriter Jeffrey Boehm to retool the script. Of course, this film, I think there's probably a direct lineage from Twilight and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all the films and TV shows that followed in the 90s and beyond.
Yeah.
To this, probably the first contemporary retelling of a Dracula type story.
It probably added more mullets when he took over to age them up.
Yes.
For better or for
That's
worse.
right.
I say for better.
You do. We're still waiting on those photos, John.
I guess.
Are we?
I know they're out there. That's right. We did talk about how Kiefer Sutherland seems to have brought the mullet in, ushered the mullet in with that.
I think we said back then, Sutherland in the front, Schumacher in the back.
Schumacher in the back.
Schumacher in the back?
I think so.
Because he told him to keep the long hair?
Right, because Sutherland wanted to cut it and Schumacher wanted to leave it long. And so he compromised. And so it was Sutherland in the front.
Yeah. Hey, we have yet, I think, to find an earlier example of a mullet.
Of the mullet.
Or media. I don't know. I'll hold off on this one, I guess. It could be good. It has the level of drama, I suppose, necessary for a musical, right? You have to have a certain emotional heights, stakes, I suppose. Stakes, no pun intended. So it's possible. And the right hands,
I love
could be good.
Anything as a musical I tend to like. And so I'm really more concerned about what it does to the Lost Boys than whether or not the show itself is good, because generally, even like so-so musicals, I dig. Yeah. It's even live, especially live. It's just, just like I go in and kind of, like you're gritting your teeth, like, don't mess it up. Whereas otherwise, if it was a clean slate, if it's just called Vampire Bay, and you go, oh, they're going to do a story about vampires. That's going to be fun. Well, now you have to bleed, but it's treading on the ground of something sacred. So Dracula would say.
So if post previews, they changed their name to Vampire Bay, we know what happened.
Then I'm going to sue them.
They were messing.
They put me in the writer's room without even putting me in the writer's room.
Hey, it just occurred to me. They may have vampires flying on stage there, At the end, there's a climactic battle where, vampires are flying and fighting there.
Yeah.
And, the way they did it cleverly, the way they shot it, the way Schumacher shot it, where it was kind of like Jaws in the sense that you don't see the threat, throughout the film. They do angles where you see it from the perspective of the vampire. So the flying, so it also obviously saved on super effects budget and stuff like that.
It'll become the Lost Boys Turn Off the Dark then? Is that what you're saying it's going to be?
There's a danger that.
Yeah.
Although I guess the vampires would want to keep the dark on.
Oh, I am.
Turn off.
So.
Turn on the dark is what we're going to be.
Turn on the dark. Yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. I don't know when that's coming, so it's probably a ways off. Here we go. Hey, in other 1980s news, as reported by Ghostbusters News, Ray Stanz is resentful. So, in a recent episode of Dana Carvey and David Spade's Fly on the Wall podcast, the comedians spoke with fellow Saturday Night Live alum Dan Aykroyd about next year's Ghostbusters sequel, Frozen Empire. When they pressed the tight-lipped writer-actor for details on the film's plot, Aykroyd would only say, quote, an entity is found in a psychometrically charged object.
Love Dan Aykroyd and his absolute commitment to this.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a Bigfoot fan, right? I love the paranormal and goofy crap like that. I love that he has not shied away from this. Like, you'd think the more famous he got, or as he got more famous, he would kind of like distance himself. He's like, nope, all in. I love it. Yep.
Well, yeah. For folks who don't know, he is a fourth generation paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
Right.
Not only did he write Ghostbusters films, but before that, the fascination with supernatural in his family goes back, starting with his great grandfather, who passed it on to his grandfather, passed it on to his father, and his father then in turn passed it on to him and his brother. In fact, his father wrote a book called History of Ghosts.
Oh my gosh,
but
cool.
Yeah. Now look, I'm not like Dan Aykroyd, so he knows about these things off the top of his head. He is Ray Stantz. I mean, he is Ray Stantz in many regards.
That's my impression.
Oh, yes.
So I had to Google psychometry. And this says it's a type of extrasensory perception that allows the reader to glean information about the history of an object by coming into contact with it. So you touch it, we've seen this in films. You touch something and suddenly, I can see how this rock was used to murder the president or whatever.
I can see how they shoved Mama from the train.
Yes. I can see that I touched the train.
Touch the train.
I touched the whole train.
Choo, 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 choo.
It wasn't moving at the time.
Oh.
He says there's an entity found. It's kind of layered then, it feels a little hat on a hat to me. There's an entity found inside of a psychometrically charged object. So you touch it, its history. Also, by the way, there's a demon or a ghost, poltergeist that's living
it's in that realm that connects you to somehow, maybe, is what I read.
Yeah. I trust him. I mean, with regard to that, those movies have always been good with the lore and the world building. Even the most recent one, which, I had read he had a hand in saying that, Jason Reitman, who made that film, you want to go bigger on this, smaller on this, with regard to that type of stuff. Anyway, Aykroyd's largest revelation on the Fly on the Wall podcast, however, maybe his comments regarding the return of his character, Ray Stanz, revealing this time around that Stanz is, quote, kind of resentful. I do the enthusiastic, wants to believe everything, kind of resentful that things have passed him by. Because he's no longer licensed. All right, end quote, whatever. But so I don't know what he's talking about here. And obviously we don't because we haven't seen the film yet, but we saw the film before. Now he still has the bookshop, Ray's Occult.
Yes.
Right.
And we learned that Winston Zeddemore has been paying the rent for him to keep this thing afloat in, I think it's like Lower Manhattan. But I don't know. There is no Ghostbusters. So what was he cut out of? I don't know. It sounds like there's going to be a character in this that's like, a corporation that somehow took the trade. They didn't trademark it or something and gets it right out from underneath them. And
what I read into was from a quote a little bit later in the article. I wish I'd heard the podcast. I need to go check out the podcast. But in the article, it says also that there is a passing of the torch or something, I'm paraphrasing, to the younger actors, to the younger people.
Yes.
And so I read his description then in a different texture in that maybe he's resentful of these younger people taking over and maybe he comes around to accept it at some point. That was kind of, it's like, this is my thing. Ghostbusters is my thing. Yeah, we came and helped you, but it's not yours. And maybe now they're trying to make it their own. And he's resentful of that because he mentions the Ghostbusters and not a part of it being cut out. That's how I kind of read it. Now, again, I wasn't in the writer's room, much to my chagrin, but that's how I read it.
I agree, John. That's how I felt when I read that part. It's more about, these things are still happening and it's so exciting and other people are doing them and he's just not as involved as he would like to be.
You see younger people living your life.
Well, it concerns me a little bit because it reminds me somewhat of how they portrayed the Luke Skywalker character in, The Last Jedi, where it wasn't that he was resentful that younger people were taking over, but he was resentful about the whole concept of the Jedis at that point, it seemed like.
Sure.
Right.
So it's just kind of a bummer to see this hero of ours from an earlier film be so downtrodden and, shitting all over the thing that we still love. All right, you moved on, but we're moving.
But like in The Last Jedi, by the end, he's going to come around and save the day. Perhaps, maybe even sacrifice himself.
Yes, maybe. Oh, that'd be a bummer. Oh boy.
I have faith it'll come around. There's a loop that will close here.
The ultimate redemption arc. That's kind of that's how I see it.
Maybe he knows it's like an Obi-Wan thing where he knows that if he dies, he'll be more powerful than you could possibly ever imagine.
Use the slime, Luke. Use.
Let go.
Be one with the ghosts.
That's a big Twinkie, Luke.
There's not the ghost you're looking for. Move along. In an interview with Newsweek, Aykroyd shared that Frozen Empire will tackle themes like loss, betrayal, forgiveness, Star Wars parodies, even deeper and more emotionally than previous films, continuing, quote, all that, along with some great scares and effects. It's really going to work, end quote. All right, hey.
I'm excited.
I'll be there. I'll see it. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, and finally this week in 1980s news, and as reported by Billboard, even if you don't know the name or backstory, you probably know this rhythm. Right? I mean, it's... And not to suggest you might identify the song, John.
No, but the first thing I thought, which is not this, is I've heard that very rhythm in Shakira's Hips Don't Lie.
Absolutely 100%. If I could switch my screens fast enough.
Hey, I got a music one right.
Yeah, there you go.
John.
And so what we're talking about here is what they call, well, you listen to pretty much any, like Hips Don't Lie, if you listen to pretty much any reggaeton song, you'll hear that infectious percussion, which has been dubbed the dembow rhythm. And not like dembo, bo. No, different. Different than that.
Mow, mow.
Yeah, not that either.
Bow wow.
That single key element, that beat there, a historian of the genre once wrote, quote, underpins the vast majority of reggaeton tracks as an almost required sonic signpost, end quote. And there was nothing controversial about this until 2021 when lawyers for the Jamaican duo Steely and Clevie, who are Cleveland Clevie Brown in the estate of the late Wycliffe Steely Johnson, filed a copyright lawsuit over the rights of Dembow.
I'll tell you, I am such a musical ignoramus that in reading this article, I felt I was reading a musical Mad Libs.
Yeah.
It's like, give me a goofy name for a song. Fish Market, okay? Yeah. Give me a silly name for a beat. A Dimbo. Okay, great. Anyway, it was very confusing to me, but I paid attention.
Yes.
I love this.
So when this copyright lawsuit that I mentioned was first filed, the lawsuit targeted only 2 tracks and a few artists. But since then, the plaintiff's complaint now includes some 1,800 songs from more than 160 defendants, including Bad Bunny, Pitbull.
What?
These are contemporary artists, by the way, if you don't recognize the names. Bad Bunny, Pitbull, Drake, and Justin.
That sounds like Mad Libs too.
I know. That's right. Give me a mythological creature. Bad Bunny. Okay. Give me
a white tiger. Plus, in addition to these artists and many others, they also are suing units of all 3 major music companies. They claim that the songs they cite feature iterations of the dembow that were illegally copied from Steely and Clevie's 1980 song Fish Market. And then as a result, their clients deserve compensation. Now here's Fish Market. This is just a clip of it, just so you can hear the dembow rhythm in it. So I played you just a moment ago.
I had time for
Fish
this.
Market.
Wait on this.
According to most experts, the story goes like this. Aspects of Fish Market were incorporated into a 1990 song called Dembow by the artist Shabba Ranks. So Shabba Ranks took essentially Fish Market. Every time John's like, I told you, it's just nonsense.
He's just going to giggle his way through this.
What's the name of the group? The Beach Boys? No, Shabba Ranks.
Shabba. So Shabba Ranks incorporated aspects of Fish Market into his 1990 song called Dembow. So that's where we get the fact that it's called Dembow. So he took Fish Market, added lyrics to it, including him saying Dembow, which now becomes Dembow. And so now we know the beat or that rhythm, that cadence, as referred to as Dembow itself.
Okay.
Shabba's version then was reused by producer Dennis the Menace. I've seen his name 2 different ways, but Dennis the Menace Thompson, I'll say, in another 1990 song called John. I can't get John out of my head. As I read this, it just sounds like nonsense.
Just keep going.
I mean, just listen to this. Dennis the Menace Thompson wrote a 1990 song called Dub Mix 2, which is probably better known as Pounder Rhythm.
Even the Dennis the Menace, it's like, name a cartoon character.
Cartoon character.
Right.
Spell an animal backwards, right? It's like, what are these things?
Anyway, so it's Pounder. So it's Pounder. This, which was, folks, it's his interpretation of this Dembow rhythm, this Dennis the Menace. It's Pounder that then gets sampled and interpolated by some folks' estimation, hundreds, if not thousands of other tracks. So the idea, at least on one level, is these folks, Steely and Clevie, are saying, look, we made this beat. This other guy created his own beat off of ours. Everybody either sampled us or sampled him. You all owe us money. That's one element of it. It gets crazier than that.
Wow.
But as a result, like I said, we've got hundreds, if not thousands of songs that get, pulled into this lawsuit. Now, what's crazy to me is that this song, this song that we're talking about, this beat here, that this, as far as we know, based on this lawsuit, can only be traced back to this 1989 song, Fish Market. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yes.
That seems so, what's the word? Indigenous to Jamaican culture and music and the island itself. Or Latin songs, like Shakira. That I would have guessed it's been part of these cultures, as Afro-Caribbean musical culture for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Not 40.
So not knowing much about my musical history, I wonder if it's like a taco situation, right? Like what we think of as tacos here in North America is not Mexican tacos at all. But we associate, the curved half moon, whatever thing, hard shell, whatever, as a taco. That's not at all what a taco is if you're from Mexico, right? But I wonder if those sounds and rhythms are actually indigenous to the places we associate with them, or is it a sound and a rhythm and a beat that was co-opted by those types of artists that we now associate with the culture? I mean, it was the chicken or egg, I guess, is the easier way of saying all the garbage I just said.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I follow you.
It's a good thought, but it seems to be much simpler than that. I mean, if we look, so this is what happened. As part of the lawsuit, I'll skip to the end first. I'll skip to the end and maybe I'll come back and tell you some other things. But so, well, let me tell you this part so I can get into it actually. So, as I mentioned, so we got sort of the basic premise of how we get here, 35 years later, or whatever it is. Over the decades that followed, the 89 fish market and then the 90 dub mix 2 / pounder rhythm, reggaeton as a genre blossomed into a global sensation. It has roots in what's called reggae en español, which was essentially Latin folks rapping over a beat like that, if not that beat.
Okay.
Which exploded, which evolved with, some Panamanian artists and ultimately with Puerto Rican trailblazers like Ivy Queen and DJ Nelson. And it exploded with Daddy Yankee's 2004 breakout single, Gasolina. Now, you're telling me only in 2004 that suddenly this becomes a phenomenon? This is like a Mandela thing for me. Wasn't this always around, this beat?
I mean, I think so. Yeah. I mean, this rhythm sounds Caribbean. It sounds island. It sounds something, right? That kind of beat. Or Latin, as you said. I can't imagine it started in 89.
Right. And I know that they went to great lengths in this article to describe the exact, detail exactly what's happening in the beat with this, then this, then this, then this, then that. But, oh my gosh. It just seemed a bit much.
It's like, I don't want to copyright my painting. I want to copyright my paint. Is what I'm hearing here. That is a color people use to create their own art with. It's so rudimentary. It's like it's like copywriting a snare hit. Well, that's mine. I own that. Well, no, that is something people use to make other ones.
Yeah, as usual, John, you sort of boil it down to what ultimately this comes down to. There is a concept in copyright law, which certainly it comes to me in the context of like films, television shows, where there's this thing called it's a French phrase, sounds en faire. It looks like scenes in fair. Okay. And the idea is that there's certain tropes you can't copyright. So like having a meet cute in a coffee shop. I did that in my film in 1980. You can't have your meet cute in a coffee shop. No, what the law says is, look, like you're saying, John, that is a basic building block that is now used to make something that is copyrightable.
Yeah.
When you get more specific with the dialogue, the characters' names, that sort of thing. So in that way, yes. And that's ultimately what the attorneys for Bad Bunny, for example, Kenneth Freundlich said. Well, first two things. One, he said, and again, I've got one of Bad Bunny's songs, and I'm not familiar with this artist, but he's incredibly popular. He was rumored to be able to be playing a Marvel or DC superhero. I don't know if that fell through or not.
Okay.
But last year, Bad Bunny's Un Verano Sin Ti became the first Latin album to finish as the #1 Billboard 200 album of the year. And one of the songs, I think he's got 3 in this lawsuit, but one of the songs, let's see, what is it called? I got it here. It's called Titi Me Pregunto. Here's this song. Now, I'm going to play you this clip here, and you see if you can hear the dembo rhythm in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's. I mean, you can't avoid it.
No. Yeah.
So this is one of the songs that Steely and Clevie have named in their lawsuit as having stolen from them. Now, Freundlich, Bad Bunny's lawyer, says, wait a second. He did not use a sample of your song or Pounder, which sampled. He didn't use any samples of your song.
Not a sample.
So that goes out the window. So then the next question gets like what John's saying. And the plaintiffs are arguing, okay, that's fine. He didn't sample it. But the beat, he matches the rhythm, that boom, chick, chick, boom, chick, chick. And that is what is original and was created by Steely and Clevie.
But if I'm performing it, is it not a cover of that rhythm now?
Right.
That I'm incorporating into my track? It's not yours.
Not even an interpolation, right?
No.
Or is it? No.
Well, I guess you could say it's an interpolation in some sense, except for the fact that generally, like we talked about, this is a building block. Right. So we don't even think of it generally as in the copyright terms like that, as being sampled, interpolated, infringed upon. Doesn't even rise there, except for, I guess, this court case will test it. I don't think this is going to go very far because
I hope not.
You would, because basically like the standard like 4 on the floor rhythm that's used in dance music. You know,
this would be crippling to creativity.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Suddenly you can't make dance music anymore. Suddenly, you know, it would just, So that, it would stifle creativity. Yeah. For his part, U.S. District Judge Andre Barote Jr. was interested in the question of whether prior art was something they should discuss. So this gets to I think, the final thing, meaning whether or not this rhythm existed prior to Fish Market, which is the mind-blowing part to me. So we said, did they copy it directly? Yeah. No. Yeah. Did they imitate it? Yes. Is it copyrightable? Probably not. But even let's say it is. Did they really create it, or are they just doing what was
right?
And the plaintiffs say, no, they created it. But, and I thought this was interesting, the judge said, quote, how do you distinguish this, if at all, from the traditional dance hall rhythms, referring to the Jamaican sound, used since I was a kid in reggae? This is the judge.
There we go. There we go.
They got the right judge.
Yes.
He says, if you go on the streets of Jamaica, big speakers, same beat. Again, I was a college party music DJ. I had probably hundreds. Hopefully this is beyond the statute of limitations. This is the judge still talking, by the way. Hundreds of CDs from the streets of New York and New Jersey with literally the same rhythm running for 45 minutes.
Yes. That's what gives me hope about this.
Well, judge. Now, I guess for their part, the plaintiffs did not budge. They still insist that their clients created this rhythm or rhythm.
Well, they have nothing to lose, right? If they're proven wrong, the court fees. If they're proven right, they stand to make bajillions of dollars, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. I don't think this is going to go very far. I mean, they first filed the suit, I think, in 2021. So it's been around for a while. Right. They just had hearings on it just, I think, a month or two ago. So,
yeah.
But,
my point being, they're not going to go, oh, my bad. Never mind, Judge. Right. They're
right.
They're going to double down, of course. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Anyway, there you go. I thought that's fascinating. Again,
it's got to rule against us.
I mean, what? This is just 35 years old, or
no?
Yeah. It's gonna be crazy. They're just putting the proof of. They're putting the burden of proof of someone to prove that it was extant before they did it, because they happen to have a recording with a certain date on it. But yeah, it sounds like they have a judge who's like, I don't know, you guys kind of acting a fool. You just got a goofy. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they were the first ones to have a song with that beat be so popular, or the song was popular and it happened to have that beat. Yeah.
Or to have been copyrighted, perhaps. Who knows, right? Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Still, they didn't make it. It was the building block, like we said. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. Hey, and that's good news again, because it'll keep the channels of creativity flowing. Hey, so that was 1980s news. So, hey, like we've been doing on these every other week, so I begin you an update on the progress of my 1980s novel as I write some additional material that was absolutely necessary to have a more complete story, a more comprehensive story, cohesive story. And I guess a few updates as we near the end of the year, which was my goal of having these sections written. A couple things have happened. Unfortunately, here's the bad news. Unfortunately, two of the guests that were definitely coming on are not, or don't seem to be on anymore.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm done chasing after people. I'm not chasing people anymore. Not about this. The good news is, though, so I ran into a little bit of a stumble, and these sort of things have been happening because as I try to flesh out, which is essentially a flashback in a novel that's already set in the 1980s, so that flashes back to the 1960s. I had to do some research on things because I just didn't know, and we've talked about some of these things as we go. And something came up as simple as, you might not consider this, if you were writing about a culture with which you had, great familiar that you were familiar with.
That works.
You wouldn't think of this as an issue, but since this is this flashback part, at least is set in the 1960s in a specific state, in a specific city in India, the country of India. Yeah. It's very particular. And as we talked a couple of weeks ago, they've got issues of maybe not caste, but certainly social, and social, economic, different strata that separate groups, religion, et cetera, and so on. So when I was doing these segments set in the 1960s about these families, I had a couple different scenes that were set at homes. So the question is like, where do they live?
Home life.
Why?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And you can take guesses, but I guarantee there's a good percentage you may not be right because of how diverse those areas were and may still be to some extent, that all these things come into play. And so I got kind of frozen, honestly, and I started writing around it, which I don't like doing because sort of my style of writing is
straightforward.
Yeah. Sort of linear, going through what happened. And I'm not telling you something that a technique that's, so groundbreaking. But for me, when I have a general idea of how characters behave and what the goals are in a certain scene, I just sort of see it and write it down as if watching a movie, and seeing it play out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get past certain things because I didn't even know what the inside of this apartment looked like, or maybe it's not an apartment. Maybe it's a house.
So let me ask you this, Will. So I'm really curious. So not artistically, not creatively, but pragmatically.
Yeah.
Do you look back now at the book you have built, and does any part of you regret setting it in something with which you are so unfamiliar? Or was that so germane to the topic of the book that it was irreplaceable?
Yeah, good question.
The second thing, absolutely.
Okay.
No, I have no regrets
right.
about it.
Okay.
And look, I've got other stories I want to tell if I ever get through this one, and those are will be more simple in that sense.
Not in India.
And, not in India, not decades ago.
Okay.
Not across the globe.
Well, maybe not, in the 1960s at least. They're probably decades ago. But no, I never regretted it. And it's this kind of thing, John, and maybe you have this experience when you even create your videos for your YouTube channel, which you folks should check out at Gen X Grown Up, that you have a vision for how it should be, and that's it. You now have to, now look, you'll be flexible. You're not going to just, sort of just force these pieces to fit together, artistically speaking, but you have a general idea, and then the thing that you do sort of serves that, Yeah. And it may come out looking differently, but that's the goal.
Yeah.
And so whatever my brain, soul, et cetera, decided was the story, everything sort of just became having to excise that, from my consciousness. Anyway,
I love the hand motions for your brain.
and I love
brain
puzzles.
waves.
I really do love puzzles. So now here's the good news I tell you all this to tell you the good news.
Okay.
So I got a little bit hung up on this thing because I know what I want to have happen in the scene. I have a general sense of the dialogue. I know the beginning, middle, end of this particular last bit that I have to write to be done with this, with my goal for this year. But I told you, I've been getting hung up on these little details because I want to paint the picture as I write. I don't like to go back and fill it in. It feels kind of contrived then. And just a few days ago, in researching, where do these people live, I came across a professor. And I don't know that she wants me giving out any specifics about her necessarily, but a university professor here in the United States who's written books and done lectures on where people lived in the 1940s through today in India, based on their economic and financial and religious.
Just what you needed.
So I wrote her an email, and we're going to talk in a couple of days. Okay, but even immediately, just in our exchange, she started giving me ideas and considerations that I would not have otherwise found, with any level of practical research that I could do online. Literally, consider it, they might live in a place like this, and here's a link.
Oh yeah. There's a start. Yeah. From blank slate to now I have a fuzzy vision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yes.
And I'm talking to her in a couple of days. After I know this one bit, I think I have the complete picture and sort of, I have a sense of what the shape of the thing. I know exactly the shape of the thing.
So at the risk of raising the ire of superfan of 1980s now, Miss So,
yes.
I am going to talk about numbers.
Here comes the smackdown.
All right. So this is.
No, you're getting smacked down.
I will. I know. I will.
Yeah, I thought
right. I'm not smacking anybody down. So last time we spoke,
you're not.
you felt you were at about 93% completion. I'm going to go ahead and take the pressure off. My expectation is that you likely will not complete by the end of the year, which is okay. That was your goal. This is not a business where there are substantial penalties for delivering late, right? So we kind of had on target about 1% a week you were working on. You gained some velocity last time we spoke. You're up to 93%, which is still behind your target, but gaining ground. You have a feeling for, what I hear you saying is you lost some ground and then you made up some, maybe not the ground yet, but you've gotten some speed back under you because you have a path. You have a feeling of where you are? Can you put a tangible number on it?
I suppose so. And I think that, to the extent that we're turning this into quantifying this, I've been basing it on content production, so the fact that I spent days researching this and only found this professor after, a few days of researching, the fact that my word count hasn't gone up, that means my percentage hasn't gone up for me, as much significantly.
But is that all you're basing it on, really? I mean, because I'm not telling you how to do it, but I mean, do you feel that the percentage has not changed even though you have gained ground?
I think it has changed, just not significantly.
Good.
I think maybe I would say another percentage, maybe
that's fine.
94%.
Sure.
Okay.
That said, having the information I have with her, I think will allow me to leap through, several percentage points in a sense. Will I hit 100 by the end of the year? I don't know. But
the holidays are coming up. We knew that was coming. That's always something you have to expect and plan for.
But I am so close.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I've got this passage I need to write that's going to be several pages long. But once I have this, that's it pretty much as far as what I wanted to accomplish. I got more work to do next year.
Let me tell you something good about the numbers. Even though I'm hearing in your voice that you feel disappointed that you didn't get as much done as you would like to have in the block that you had, and you're just getting that hurdle cleared. You're only 3% behind where you would have liked to have been right now. It's not like you're 20% off, It's like,
right.
So that you're really only about 3 weeks off of your anticipated target, which is not even another month away beyond your initial goal. So I think this is not like it's pushed out into fall, right? Fall next year. No. It's pushed out a few weeks maybe. So I think you're making good progress. And you were ahead of speed last time, so it's kind of evens out here.
So, and so since we're only meeting one more time this year, I may have to give you as best an update I can as next time. And then, I don't know, on social media or otherwise, we'll post something that lets folks
circle back and figure it out in the new year, see where we're at. Yeah.
Or maybe you'll allow me to call you and just do a little update. Just a little video.
You drop it as a bonus episode. See how we're doing.
On New Year's Eve, we'll do it.
Oh,
I'll have to midnight, John. I'm going to be like...
You got to get it done. You got 45 minutes. Go.
Get her done.
I want to have you just on a big screen, just watching, judgmentally. Hey, that, at least for now, today is our show.
And our show is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters like Rick Parker and Karen Fleener.
Love it. Thank you.
And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success Level Patreon supporters like Brandon Greer, Marcus Taylor, Tony Great, Nick Guillory, Matt Marino,
the owl,
and John Henderson.
Another John. Thank you so much, everyone. That was great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, for your wonderful support of our show. These are the folks that we named that, not only listen to us every week, but dig into their pockets. You can send us $1 or $2 or more, in many cases more, to help us pay the bills associated with the show. If you're able to do that, please visit us at 1980snow.com/support. There's a bunch of ways you could do it, including just going to Patreon and giving us money. But if you can't do that, there's some other free ways there listed as well, including just sending us an email, making a comment, subscribing on YouTube. Here we've got here's some examples. We've got another message from our one of our favorites, Miss So, writing with regard to our last week's episode about the Christmas wish books that was produced in part certainly by Marcus Taylor, our good buddy, and very smart, creative. I don't know if I said enough. The observations that Marcus wrote down when doing this research, just so clever and smart.
Ooh.
And some of them I used and took credit for, and other ones inspired me to think of things in another way. It was really great. Anyway, Miss So is also grateful. She writes, I want to thank Marcus as the, quote, fourth member of the podcast. Really enjoyed his idea for this show. It was a lot of fun. You three goofballs already had me long ago, so just wanted to give Marcus some kudos too. Now, regarding the catalogs that we talked about, Miss So also writes, quote, my brother and I would circle all the toys we wanted, tear out the pages, and hand them to our mom, end quote. So that's how they did it. Not like John's oak tag, as we called it in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Big giant poster.
Let's see. Also with regard to that episode, Nate writes, did you guys have service merchandise in New Jersey?
Right.
Oh.
We did.
Did you have that?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
There's a catalog you'd get, and it had a number of different items in it. But the one I remember most was they had electronics. So that was another chance to look at electronic gear. So
Service merchandise's big deal was that after you bought it, it would come rolling down the conveyor belt. No? Have you ever bought service merchandise in person at a physical store?
Oh, no. I didn't even know. I thought it was just mail order. Oh,
No. We had physical ones in Florida. And so,
all right.
you bought it and you just got the tag and you said what you wanted. And then you waited by the checkout. And you know the not a conveyor belt, but the
wheels,
racks
the
of little steel wheels.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I can still picture like an Atari product rolling up the service merchandise track because you get to watch it and it comes out of the rubber flaps that keep the air conditioning in, It's like a luggage return at the airport. Yeah. So that's a big part of service merchandise.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed that. I think.
Yeah, it added some drama to your shopping.
Yeah. It's like winning a slot machine or something.
Yeah. Here comes the prize.
Yeah. And finally, with regard to that episode, Kathleen wrote, it was awesome to be the first one home and get first look.
Oh.
With the catalog, of course.
Yeah.
I kind of remember my sister and I don't think we cut stuff out. I think we just wrote stuff down. Is what I remember. So there was no issue with folks tearing out pages. And now Cabbage Patches on the back of Star Wars or something, that didn't happen.
I think I remember I used to put the product and then I would put page whatever. It like P125, right? You just reminded me of that. Yeah.
And no one is surprised. That John did
it's
that.
as a convenient service, so to be certain it's the thing on this page.
John also told his parents at the end of Christmas Eve what percentage of presents they purchased from his list.
There was a spreadsheet.
So your goal was 100%. You got the oak tag here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Mom gratefully marked off a bunch of the ones that she bought, so it makes it real easy to do the math. Let's see, that's 8 out of 10, 80%. That's a fail.
That's a C Christmas right there.
There you go, Mom. Try again next year.
Ouch! Woo!
Flips the table.
Man.
Eggnog flies everywhere.
I was either the last one home or somebody was hiding this book from me.
Is that
I never got to see.
Got it. Oh, I didn't even think of that, Kat. We should ask your siblings. We should ask your sister. We should ask your sister about that.
We should. I'm going to do some research over the holiday. I'll do a little.
That's interesting.
Detective work. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have a fireplace in your home? I could also see her just, I don't know her well enough, but I get a sense enough that she would just take it and throw it in the fireplace.
That's possible.
Now nobody could see it.
No joke. A wood burning stove was our source of heat in our house until I left for college. It might have been.
There you go. Oh, or maybe it was just a necessity. You're right. It was cold.
Right.
Went with the service merchandise catalog.
Yeah. All the paper was not for looking.
Nope.
Only for burning.
Looking paper. We got your looking paper and your burning paper. Now we got your toilet paper, your TP.
We've got your outhouse paper.
Yeah, 3 kinds of paper.
Did you have a wood burning stove in the outhouse, Cat, as well?
Ooh.
Oh no! Wait.
What did it burn?
You don't want to. Yeah, you're talking before, after. You can't do it after, John.
No. Just vaporizes then. Vaporizes.
And just, yeah.
I guess you just watch the smokestack on the outhouse. Occupied. And it's like a new pope's been chosen. It turns blue or something.
Oh, no.
Occupied.
Cat's eating her fiber.
Yeah, there you go. All the fiber she asked for is from Santa. It's a post-Christmas movement.
Fa la 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 la.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
La la la.
I ate the tree I asked for.
Oh, there you go. It's a good source. Mark.
Pine needles in my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Not the peak free cookies.
All right. Hey, folks, we will talk to you next time on 1980s Now. Right?
Till next time.
Dimbow.